welcome to the Pixelated Sausage Show. Hi. How is everyone doing? Hopefully well. I am, of course, your host, Mark Kuznez, and today I've got a handful of games to talk about, including Reus 2, Amanda the Adventurer 2, Halloween 1985, REDEX? 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 Is it like FedEx, but red? Blaster Force 3000, and Science Skaters. Before I get to all that, some Xbox news, because there's never a shortage of that. One, there's been rumors of supposedly the Xbox going away or getting rid of the need to pay for online play with the next Xbox, whatever it's called, whatever it is, who knows. But to me, that isn't surprising, especially if the next console is some kind of PC console hybrid thing. And that is because if that is the case, and you're able to launch Steam games and Epic Store games and so on your Xbox, you can't really have your Xbox storefront with your Xbox games that require a paid subscription in order to play online when you also have access to Steam and Epic and so on, where you can play games online without a subscription. And there's no way for them to put in some kind of system, some kind of OS level thing where you then have to pay for Xbox Live via Xbox Game Pass Core, whatever the equivalent is now of Gold, where you have to pay for the ability to play Steam games online, because that would be insane. So it's either get rid of it for Xbox or make it so there's even less reason for people to participate in the Xbox ecosystem, which I wouldn't put against them, given everything they've been doing these past few months, especially. But that is something I have thought about them removing for a long time, wondering if that could have, before they've really just given up, helped them regain some ground in the console war space that they are so clearly removed from at this point. I think that's the only Xbox news with it. There's something else maybe, but there was that. And then I don't know. We saw a news story about Konami being approached by the Wachowskis wanting Kojima to make a Matrix game, and multiple people coming out about it, talking about it. Konami apparently said no right there and then, and Kojima said he never knew about this, but if he did, could have maybe made something happen. And I believe this was around the time, it was either after Metal Gear Solid 2 came out or around the time that was in development coming out, but somewhere in that time frame, that era. I don't know about everyone else, but I can speak for myself, obviously. I always get a little bit of amusement thinking about sayings like that. Needless to say, and then you say whatever you're going to say anyway, or whatever the hell I just said. I can't remember. But just a lot of pointless sayings that don't really, they're just wordiness for wordiness. Anywho, I am glad this never came to be, because even though I think Kojima could have made a good Matrix game, I would much rather get Metal Gear Solid 3 than whatever his Matrix game would have been. I would much rather have Kojima working on his own ideas than adapting someone else's. The only way I would have been interested in a Matrix game from Kojima is if the pitch from the Wachowskis was, we want Kojima to make a game in the Matrix universe, but he is able to do whatever he wants. Does he want to create a completely new cast of characters? Does he want to set it 100% in the Matrix? Does he want to mix in Zion and all that crap? Does he want to do this? Does he want to do that? Does he want to make a Zone of the Enders type mecha game that is set in the real world, not the Matrix? Whatever he wants to do, he can do it. We just want him because he is a creative visionary in the video game space, especially with more of a cinematic eye than most, if not all, other developers. We just want him to make something in our world. We think he would be the best suited for that type of experience. Then I could maybe see it being appealing. But even then, I would much rather have gotten what we did get, which is more Metal Gear with some Zone of the Enders. And now we get our Death Stranding. So, yeah. I'm glad. This is a case where I look at what Konami did and I say, good on you. You made the right decision there. Can't say that often about y'all, but in this case, good job. That's really it. That's me trying to find a little bit extra to talk about this episode because I feel like it's going to be a short one. I want to continuously get better at, even though I just meandered there and stammered and didn't do a good job there. And I'm not doing one here either. I want to be better about being concise with thoughts and so on and so forth. So let's get on to what I've been playing, starting with Reus 2, which I believe is the pronunciation. I could be wrong. This is Reus 2. Some may pronounce it Reus 2. I don't know if anyone would call it Reus 2, like Deus Ex. Reus 2. But I Googled it, and it said Reus. So whether or not that's accurate, I'm not sure. But I'm going to call it that for the purposes of this. It is a kind of small scale, lower stakes God game-ish, but it feels more like a puzzle game where you are creating these biomes, these ecosystems on this planet, and you navigate it in a circular manner. So it's just from a 2D perspective, essentially. And there's not a lot of space to work with, so it's much more manageable on that end of it being this smaller scale. It keeps it from being too overwhelming. And it has a really nice, colorful aesthetic. I like the look of it. You can zoom close in. However, I play this on Xbox and I found two things to be very problematic. First and foremost, the UI and the controls with the gamepad, with the controller, are not good. I found it incredibly frustrating navigating the menus, trying to get what I wanted to do. It was just very, very frustrating. One of the most frustrating experiences I've had in a while with any kind of strategy-ish game. Second problem, the tutorial is horrendous, I think. I think the tutorial is very, very bad. And I always have this problem with games. A tutorial, and especially in a game like this, a strategy game, God game, simulation game, so on, they should not only tell you what to do, they should highlight how to do that. So if you are playing, for instance, a train sim game, and it tells you to push this button or pull this gear or pull this lever, so on and so forth. Show me the prompt, tell me what to do, give me this step-by-step tutorial, and then in the game world, what you want me to do, the action you want me to actually do, highlight that button, highlight that part of the world that is interactive that you want me to engage with for this particular part of the tutorial. That doesn't happen in Reus 2. The tutorial just kind of tells you to do this thing, and then in the box where it has the thing it wants you to do, there'll be a question mark, and then you go over to the question mark, you navigate it through the clunky controls, and you get on the question mark, it says, okay, do these things, do these specific tasks to complete this objective. And then you're like, okay, good, great. How do I do that? Where do I go? What do I do? Any help? No? Oh, well, great. So as much as I think Reus 2 could be a very casual, more puzzle adjacent, God game type experience, I think at least on console with gamepad controls, it is not the way, and it doesn't do a great job of onboarding players either, which I think is very, very important. And I will always throw out the argument you can learn more about this game or that game through YouTube videos, so on and so forth, because that is not part of the game. To me, if a game itself cannot teach me how to play it in a well manner, because I went to a video to see, like, wait, what does it actually want me to do here? And then I figured it out and I continue playing. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this. I'm starting to get used to these clunky controls. I still don't like them, but I'm getting used to it, but I'm not enjoying the experience even so. And I immediately, after playing it for 15 minutes, I went to the store page on Xbox to see if it was a Play Anywhere title and I could download it on PC and play it that way. That sadly wasn't the case. So yeah, just coming from this as a console player, playing the game with a controller, I don't think it is quite there for potential interested players. That is again though Reus 2. Amanda the Adventurer 2, and this could very much so be the episode where you're just like, you're just stupid. You're just stupid. All right? You can't figure out what the game wants you to do in Reus 2. And now Amanda the Adventurer 2, you're going to talk about how the puzzles didn't quite do it for you. I did not play the first game. This one, you start off in a library where some masked person drops you off and tells you to go do some stuff, and you gotta go do them. First thing you have to do is unlock this tape to get this tape, and then watch it for the next clue and what you want to do next. So what you have to do is get a bunch of these books in the space to find out the code for this safe where the tape is. And how you do this is you get these books, you scan them with the scanner, then you go on the computer, look at who were the previous people who checked them out, and get some context clues from that. There might be some information inside the books. People have written stuff in them that'll give you some hints. And that's what you're doing. I got confused on that very first puzzle because the lock for the safe in the under the front desk, 4 numbers. I found a book in the process of doing this clue hunting that had 4 spaces, 3 of which were empty, and the last one had, I think, the number 3 in it. So I assumed that was part of this clue. And then I found some other books that were related to it, and another one that had 4 spaces, month, day. And I looked at that and I said, oh, maybe that's related to when this thing was checked out. Looked that up on the computer, and it was, I think, June 19th, so 0619. I'm like, oh, that could be something, but then what about this other thing with a 3? And I started looking for more books because I was getting confused. I was overthinking it, I guess, because I had this other book that gave me 3 as the last number, so the 9 couldn't be the last number. Obviously, I didn't have all the information, so I grabbed every fucking book that was interactive that I could grab, because there's plenty of books you can't touch, and I couldn't figure out what the game wanted me to do. I was like, I didn't bother trying the 0619 thing because I figured there's no way that's right. I had this other thing that basically has the 4 slots and is giving me one number. This other one just said month, day. Ugh. And so I looked up a video for that, and the code was 0619. So I got that tape, put it in. It has this old school 90s era type of kids show where you have this young girl talking to you, having you help out like you do in like a Blue's Clues type of show or something like that. It's like, oh, where do you think I can get this money from? Which one of these toys should I sell? And then you can pick one of them. Oh, I have money in my piggy bank. Should I smash it open or should I pull out the plug? I tell it to pull out the plug. Oh, you're no fun. And I really liked all of that. The vibe of that was so good. And I wish that was the game, full stop. Because then the next puzzle was to take these pieces and set them up in this train track thing, this train track toy, to have it, because she wants to go on this trip and she wants to go to Paris, Mexico City, and London. So you have to set up the tracks in a way so that the train goes through those in the correct order and then gets to the finish line. That was very, very simple because it's basically just pipes and those other and puzzles like that, which are very common in games. And I love that game, that mini game. So that was easy to do. And then I got another video that I watched, and when it completed, there was this box, this like puzzle box that had a bunch of different sides with different puzzles to complete. I didn't know what it wanted me to fucking do there. I went to the other area where all the books were to see if maybe some other clues showed up there. I don't know. I tried to rewatch the tape again to see if I missed something, if I wasn't paying close enough attention. Couldn't replay the tape. So I just stopped there and said, you know what? This game's just not for me. It's just, I'm too stupid for this game, or I'm not in the right puzzle solving mood right now. So I'm just going to leave this. But what I wish the game was just more of that, of the TV show thing, because I think the vibe there is great, and interacting with that the way I was, where she would ask me some questions and I would click around. It reminded me too a little bit of those old, I don't know if they were edutainment games, if they were supposed to be, but things like Freddy Fish and What is the One at the Airport and so on. I remember my aunt had a few of them in this little booklet she had of a bunch of demo discs, and I don't know if they were the full games. There was Alone in the Dark in there as well. But I loved those games as a kid, and this kind of gave me that vibe, and I would much rather have this be some kind of point and click adventure / choose your own adventure interactive kid show that goes in weird places and gets dark and weird and so on and so forth, as opposed to it being this 3D first person puzzle game that I'm assuming is going to get spooky at some point, where you watch this show via tapes you find throughout the experience. I would much rather just be this TV show. But maybe that's just me. That is, again, though, Amanda the Adventurer 2. Halloween 1985 is a very, very, very good arcade game with one humongous issue. I really, really like this game. Really nice, colorful art. The various stages in this arcade game, single screen, non-scrolling spaces, reminiscent of arcade games like the original Donkey Kong and similar games. I can't speak to other ones that might be more similar to where you were actually collecting things because I don't have that great of a history of games of that era. I think thinking of that era, I played Mystical Man, Asteroids, Centipede, Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, and I Dig Dug. I guess is the same era-ish, and that's kind of it. And then you have Rampage a little later down the road and Shinobi, but I didn't play anything like it was a Food Fight, Bear Tapper, Cubert. I don't know. But in this game, it's Halloween based. You play a dude with a little jack-o'-lantern for a head. And you have 6 levels that are all themed around different monsters. So you have one that's based around vampire. So think Dracula, a werewolf, an evil clown, a mummy, a witch. And then when you complete all those levels for one run, for one round of all these stages, you open up the Inferno level, which I think you're just fighting against a demon, devil, Satan, whatever. And they're all unique in their setups. The Dracula one is the most straightforward and simple, very reminiscent of Donkey Kong especially, but instead of going all the way to getting to the top to rescue the princess and so on, the goal of each level is to collect all the jack-o'-lanterns that are hanging from the ceilings on these various levels of the area. And you are avoiding hazards, whether it be other weaker enemies that you are dodging or the titular enemy of that area, the mummy, the Dracula, so on and so forth, or elements of the environment, like I think it was the werewolf level, which is in this kind of underground tunnel system. Mine carts will regularly spawn in that you want to avoid. And in each level, you have some means of hurting the monster. In the vampire, the Dracula level, you can open blinds for windows, and if you can get the monster, get Dracula to get into the light, it'll do some damage to him. In each of the levels, if you can damage the big boss 3 times, that's the way to get the best score, and also it'll send them away and they won't be roaming the environment anymore. The levels also have unique traversal elements. So on the mummy level, for instance, instead of it just being ladders that you go up and down, there is a kind of, what do you call them, where you go on the line and you just go down. It's not a grapple thing. It's not rappelling. It's people do it in like jungles when they go on tourist things, and I can't think of what it's called anymore. But you have that. In the clown level, you go higher in the level by grabbing onto a balloon and letting it take you upward, and so on and so forth. So there's some fun stuff there to make each level feel unique. And the monsters all have different ways of dealing with you. The clown will throw balls all over the place when he spots you, via juggling essentially. The wolfman will charge at you. The witch will fly around the environment and also drop these green orbs that will disorientate your character so that all the button inputs are reversed. It's just very, very good. It feels good. It feels responsive. It's a lot of fun to play. You have your basic mode, which is just 1 round, then your expert mode, which is 2 rounds through the thing, and a speed run mode, which I'm not sure what that is. But the big thing that holds this game back and really kills its longevity is the lack of any kind of leaderboard system. There is an internal local leaderboard system, but there's no online leaderboards of any kind. And I think if there was a endless mode, a proper arcade mode where you're just going through these waves and getting to the inferno level, beating it, and then redoing it over and over and over again as long as you can, where maybe the levels get slightly more challenging or slightly faster, something that increases the difficulty with each run through. If it had something like that, I think this game would be really, really good. A sleeper hit that I would highly recommend. As it is, I still recommend it because I think it's really fun and plays well. However, it just doesn't have the legs. Once you've completed one run of the game, you've beaten every level, you'll get all the achievements. So even on that front, there's nothing to chase after. So if you want something that's a good time for a single session, gives you easy achievements or trophies, it's worth picking up, and it's not expensive. It's a bummer that it's missing something I think could really help the game out in terms of its longevity. And also just in being in an arcade game, a leaderboard system, an online public leaderboard system where you can compete against friends and strangers alike, that just feels like a necessity. That is, again, Halloween 1985. REDEX is a side-scrolling horde-based twin-stick shooter thing where you play as a normal dude fighting off waves of enemies who are firing at you. You collect coins when they die and use that money to call in supply drops, whether it be more ammo, some equipment, could be grenades, could be a turret, stuff like that. And you're just trying to last as long as you can until you reach the boss wave. And then you can unlock a new area and do the same thing over and over again. You do earn coins specific to leveling up and increasing to purchasing new weapons that you can take in, and increasing your level that allows you to aim better or carry more ammo or so on and so forth. It's a game I could see enjoying from that loop, the leveling up loop and all that, which is something I am very much so a fan of. But the game feels like shit. That's the end all be all. It does not feel good as a twin stick shooter. It feels like shit. And I've leveled up my accuracy skill maybe about 66 to 75% so far, and it does not feel that much better than it did when I first started. But I'm also increasing the amount of ammo allotment I get, because you can take in 2 weapons during your run that don't have unlimited ammo. You have a pistol, a base pistol that gives you unlimited ammo, but then you can bring in something like a shotgun and an assault rifle or whatever you prefer for your 2 additional weapons. They have a limited ammo. That's where the ammo drop comes into play. But it just feels like shit. It does not feel good at all. So that's that. And it feels like because of that, maybe it's just going to be an incredible, grindy, annoying experience where you're just playing this bad feeling game in order to level up and get skill points so that you can make it a slightly less bad feeling game, and maybe eventually one that feels kind of okay, but you had to play a bunch of shit in order to get it to that point, which is not fun. That is, though, again, REDEX. Then we have Blaster Force 3000, which is a first-person shooter, pixel-based, but 2D art and assets. So it's a first-person shooter in a 3D space, but your gun and the enemies within the world are all flat 2D pixel art characters and objects, your gun, so on and so forth. And you're going through these very, very short levels that have part times of anywhere between typically 20 and 30 seconds, usually right around 22 seconds. Just trying to go through them as fast as possible, get the end point, kill all the enemies in the level, and you get a bit of a score, and then you can move on to the next level. You unlock new weapons after every 6 levels, I believe. And that's that. It, like the game I just talked about, feels terrible. As a shooter, it feels awful. It's not fun to play. It's not really that challenging. I died before I got all the other achievements only because I realized much later in the game that when you kill the non-hostile enemies that aren't attacking you, you actually lose some health from that. But with each new area you unlock after every 6 levels, roughly, and maybe they sprinkle some in between there, they'll give you some new enemies to deal with that are a little bit more tricky or do more damage. But it's a very mindless, who gives a shit game that ends very quickly. Oh, there are, I think, maybe 30 levels in total, but once you complete the 18th level, you'll have unlocked all the achievements, gotten all the trophies, and there's no real incentive to keep playing because it's not fun. And yeah, there's nothing, there's no reason to keep playing because it's not an enjoyable game to play. So the only reason why you were playing up until that point, like myself, was to get all the achievements and be done with it. That is Blaster Force 3000. Then the last game is Science Skaters, which is a really easy, simple, cute kind of edutainment game that would be great for very young kids, where you skate around these environments. The skating feels much more like gliding than skating, though, and you're tasked with very simple objectives like collecting all the milk in this one level, or going here and collecting all these things, or interacting with all these objects and so on. And every level is based on some part of the human body, and it's broken up into, I think, 5 or 4 distinct parts of the body, whether it be the bones or so on. And when you're going through these levels, you will find some kind of test in them that you don't have to score well on, but you'll be asked questions. Like, they might show you a picture of a human skeleton, and it'll ask you it'll point to some part of the body and say, what is this? What bone is this? And if you get the questions right, you unlock diplomas, which then help to unlock cosmetics for your character. And it'll give you some fun facts when you find this thing or that thing in the environment. So it's a nice little game that teaches you some very light, basic stuff about the human body. It has a very pleasant aesthetic art style, plays well enough, and yeah, I think it's something that would be good for young kids again. For someone like me or other adults listening, not really for you, not really for me, unless you are just an achievement hunter. It'll take you a little bit longer to get all of those than compared to something like Blaster Force 3000 or Halloween 1985. But if you have young ones and maybe they're a little bit interested in enamored, or find that stuff kind of interesting, it's worth looking into. I think it's only $10. Decent amount of content there. The cute little thing. Nothing to write home about really, but a nice enough thing for what it is. It knows what it wants to do and does it well enough. So yeah, that is Science Skaters. And that is going to do it for this here episode of the Pixelated Sausage Show. Once again, I am Marcus Nez. Y'all can find me pretty much everywhere at PX Sausage. If you enjoy this here show or any of the stuff I do and what have you, you can support me and my nonsense over at patreon.com/PXS. There you can get access to the sausage dump where I talk about this, that, and whatever. I will finally probably be recording the final episode of me talking about my top 100 games of all time list. So yeah, stuff like that and more, as well as a private Discord channel and some fancy Discord roles, depending on your tier, of course. That is, again, patreon.com/PXS. In addition to the Patreon, you can find links to the site, the YouTube, the Discord, and so much more over at pxsausage.com. That is the letter P, the letter X, sausage.com. But that is it. That is all. As always, thank you for watching or listening. I hope you enjoy this here episode, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. But for now, adios, arrivederci.